Alright, so in today's video, I got the Platinum Trophy on Doom: The Dark Ages, the brand new Doom game that just released a few days ago after over 5 years without a new Doom game. And boy oh boy did the developers at ID Software go hard this time. Doom: The Dark Ages is an absolutely amazing game and I had so much fun platinuming this today. Also, this video is not sponsored at all because they don't like me apparently. So all of my praises and compliments to this game are genuine and I'm totally not trying to get in with ID Software in Bethesda. But if I would really appreciate early access next time. Okay, I'm sorry. Anyways, the game's platinum is probably the easiest of any Doom game there is. It only has 29 trophies including the platinum, and there isn't any missable trophies because you can chapter select any chapter at any point, which is something that Doom Eternal was missing, and boy oh boy am I glad they added that this time. If you know, you know. But starting off today, the first stage is just finish the game while grabbing every collectible for the most part. You don't need 100% of everything. And at the final chapter, you can pretty much just skip out entirely on grabbing the gold and ruby collectibles. But there is also a glitch supposedly at the time of making this video, which is a bit unfortunate. It's regarding the shield, rune, and melee upgrades, which can glitch if you buy upgrades across different chapters. But the workaround to ensure this has zero shot at glitching is to just save everything until the final chapter and then upgrade everything at once. But with this, it does make like half of the trophies in this game all pop at once, so that's a tad unfortunate. And it also does extend the playtime of this game's platinum because there is 2 trophies relating to weapon mastery, which those mastery challenges only unlock upon fully upgrading everything. So yeah, rest in peace. However, spoiler, I did do this obviously because I didn't want it to glitch, and it worked out just fine today. So starting off the game, you first begin seeing some text explaining the lore of Doom Slayer, seeing as this is a prequel to the other Doom games, and it actually matters quite a bit for today's story. Essentially, the makers of Doom Guy have him tethered up and are controlling when he acts and where he goes after demons because they are also in with the demons themselves, which is a bit of a no-no because they're supposed to be helping stop them, so that's a backstab to the humans. But the main conflict of Doom: The Dark Ages is between us and Prince Azrak, who is this dude right here, and honestly he's quite a menacing villain. He gives off a good evil vibe and I like it. The first chapter of 22, however, was very tutorial based and it had us just fending off demons as they try to pillage a castle with the king. We basically protect all game, and this girl who also plays a giant part. But as I said, this is more of just a tutorial chapter into the basics of Doom combat. You also do man a turret at the end, however, just lay into this giant demon coming our way, which is a lot of fun. But after some cutscenes just played, and it showed us what the Prince of Hell is after. And they also complain about the Slayer, which is us, because we literally have control over all of Hell's spawns, to be honest. They fear us, which is crazy considering Doom guys in Fortnite. Imagine fearing a Fortnite character. That's what I'm saying. They also do hint at a relic that they are searching for, which appears a bit later in the story, however. It is also the main thing that controls this game's plot overall, though. I would then get my first trophy after that ended, and we were on to the following mission. And before the second chapter kicked off, we did see a cutscene showing us how the Doom Slayer is controlled by the makers, and also his immediate resistance to it. I don't know about you, but being tethered up in an empty room by electricity is not ideal, so I honestly get where bro is coming from. But I also heard if you drop a like and subscribe, this has zero chance of happening. Anyways, in the second chapter, the demons were just after the humans, once more trying to essentially kill them all, and they chose a place called Hebeth to attack. Honestly, bro, let them have it. With a name like that, it doesn't belong anywhere. But in this chapter, we also got the iconic shield of this game, which is a major part and very, very useful. But this chapter, again, was super tutorial based, and it gave us numerous weapon upgrades and new weapons throughout it. There was also quite a bit of collectibles, so I did have a bit of a rough time finding them all. However, I also did fight my first commander enemy in the efforts of defending Hab Ballsack, or whatever this place's disgusting name was. And upon killing special stronger enemies, you can sometimes get essential upgrades from demonic essence by ripping out their hearts. And I got my first one right here with the trophy popping from that. Chapter 2 would then end and there wasn't any trophy from finishing it or a cutscene. You then just begin chapter 3, and this one was very fun because it has 0 collectibles on it, and the entire time you played inside of a giant mech suit fighting other giant demons. One of the coolest gameplay features of this game, just being a giant and fighting. Absolute cinema. Sadly though, it was very short and then it ended as fast as it started, just like my last 6 relationships with women. And a cutscene did play this time, showing us a man named Deeg Lorik, who from what I understand is a scholar or just smart dude that knows about the whereabouts of a relic named the Heart of Argent that the Prince of Hell is after. And in return for giving him the info, his wife or something, soul will be put to peace because she's in hell, I suppose. Somebody should have gone to church, just saying. But then that chapter ended and I got another trophy pop. Chapter 4 then began, and amidst the commotion, that guy we just saw would then pop up at random and basically exposed himself for working with the demons, then he abruptly left. What a guy. guy. Also, the AI robot thing this world has to assist us, kind of like Jarvis from Iron Man, had absolutely no clue what the heart was or does, so we are totally screwed. However, again, this chapter just had us defend the place we are in, which was the Sentinel Barracks, from yet again more demon invasions. And that's honestly just all this game's plot is for the first half of it. You basically just defend from demons while trying to get the upper hand to put the attack on them. But I also did fight a new enemy this time on this chapter called the Vajri Champion. Shout out to my AI girlfriend. I don't know how this dude can call himself the Vajri Champ. That's crazy. So I killed him and got a trophy, which is one of many trophies from killing so-called champions throughout the game that appear at random times. And after that, you also then get to do the other main gameplay feature of this game that is just amazing: Dragon Flight. Yup, there is numerous moments in this game where you can ride on a dragon and just mess people up. Absolute cinema again. But the rest of this chapter then just had us use the dragon to fly around and destroy demonic presence until we reached the place we were after, which had the heart relic everyone was after allegedly inside of it. A cutscene then played and it showed Doom Guy getting left out of the fun like always. This is why we kill demons. The anger from missing out lives deep. But the prince was about to yoink the relic. However, the king showed up to take it at the exact same time, and bro pulled off this crazy explosion of the entire floating city, then grabbed the relic and flew away. Absolute masterclass. Also, he just killed thousands of people for sure, but that's what we call collateral damage. And another trophy popped after that chapter's end. And at this point, I was also on chapter 6. But for quite a few chapters, no trophies were gotten because there actually isn't many trophies from just combat moves or kills on enemies unlike the other Doom games. But chapter 6 was part 1 of the Siege chapters, and it began by showing Doom Guy officially breaking free of his handler's chains and trying to punch his way out of containment because the makers were gatekeeping him from the humans as a giant siege was happening. This is because we just stole the relic that the entire Legion of Hell was after, and that might make them a bit angry. But Siege Part 1, or Chapter 6, was the first open world mission of this game. And I say that because the map is just very big and open. There is still a directive and markers for your goal, but for 100% completion, you have to go extremely out of your way to get everything. However, it is an absolute blast doing that, so I'm not complaining. I actually do love this game, and it's super fun to do pretty much anything in it, so I didn't mind detouring away from my objective. However, Chapter 7, Siege Part 2, was not in the open world and instead just on an ordinary level design. But it just had us killing demons once more, until it ended off with a very cool cutscene that had the king getting tortured by the prince before we barged on in to break up the Sissy Lala fight. However, this ugly witch would end up halting our stride and then literally chucking us off the side of the platform. How rude. The prince then grabbed the relic he was after, opened it, and it was empty. Maybe the relic was the friends we made on the way. Doom Guy would then rise up in a giant mech suit and blow everything up. The prince teleported to safety sadly, and the king, well, he might have been burned, just a little bit. However, after that, before beginning any more new chapters, I did have to replay a little bit of that Siege Part 2 chapter because I did miss a challenge. And here's some more info for all of you on the trophies of this game. There is also challenges within most chapters that are just simple kill X amount of enemies or collect X amount of items. Overall, most of them aren't too hard, however, I did have to replay a few chapters a tad bit to get them finished off, and all of them are required for a trophy anyway, so it's all good fun. But then I did begin chapter 8, and it was a bit more of a building chapter because we were in this forest that had us traverse it to get to a forge, which was of importance to us and the relic. However, right before making it there, I fought under one of those quote-unquote champions, and I completely destroyed his chance at ever having a happy and long-lasting existence with another trophy popping as well. That chapter then ended and you got sent to the next one instantly, which is in the ancestral forge. The entire goal of this chapter, by the way, is you just turn it on, so that's simple. However, the forge itself was not by any means, and especially trying to get collectibles in it, it was very complex for my simple brain to comprehend. But once we did get it up and running, that was all done so this woman named Commander Thera could use it to get a drop of this blue goo on her hand. And I'm not gonna lie, I think I walked away to piss when this occurred, so I don't 100% know why she did this. But once the blue jizz from that blob in the Monsters vs. Aliens movie did drop on her hand, she gained these powers, which is pretty hype. Don't we all love a strong female lead in a video game? I wish they used that same mindset in the shows also. It's sad to see. However, that also did give us a trophy, which is awesome. Anyways, for quite some time after that, you then just fought demons over and over. Rip and tear till it's finished, as they say. Eventually, we also became a giant again. The Viagra finally kicked in, I guess. And also, you do get to ride a dragon to finish off this sequence, which was awesome. I love riding things. But a cutscene would play after we did our goal, and it showed this giant-ass tentacle just coming through a portal Doctor Strange made and grabbing Thera, then taking her through it with us, missing the thing by a hair. Massive blue balls. So now our job is to rescue her on the next few chapters, as you could guess. And on the chapter where where we are rescuing her or trying to, another champion showed up and I again murdered it for all I ever lived for. Why call yourself a champion when you got bested by a mere man? But this chapter was another very big open world one that had us again use the dragon, and you could also fly to any part of it, basically whatever you wanted to, and that's super cool. However, it's also not at all, because it would end up having me miss quite a few collectibles, seeing as they were literally not on the path of the story, and the collectible map when you fly isn't exactly a thing, so I couldn't lean on that crush for assistance. Also, I do want to say there was only 2 bugs I encountered throughout all of this game. One was just a visual bug that showed a chapter at 99% completion when it was really 100%, but it fixed itself after I restarted the game. However, the other one was a map bug that happened on this chapter a lot. Basically, every time I went to a new area with the dragon, all of the map icons would disappear, and I would have to cycle through all of my menu options and then back to the map for them to show up. It's kind of annoying, and at first I thought I was just in the wrong places, but it's just a simple bug. However, that was it, so W developers for releasing a near perfect running game in the Big 25. But back to the story, we were chasing after this crossbow because it is the most powerful item we can attain and also needed for the story. And upon just getting it, you get a trophy from acquiring the weapon. And I'm also not sure why exactly we did what we did on this chapter, but the entire time we were trying to free this giant creature contained on this planet to help us in the fight against the demons. And that's my only real complaint of this game's story. There's a few chapters where you do stuff that just doesn't really matter. Or at least it doesn't matter that much, because looking back at this footage, we do things and then basically never hear about them again after doing them. So it's kind of odd in my opinion. But freeing the giant disgusting creature was very cool. And we look badass riding it up into Doctor Strange's panties, and it did give a trophy, so who am I to complain? I then went 4 hours without any more trophies, which is, I almost died inside. I know that isn't a big deal, but 4 hours is almost a quarter of my total playtime on this game, so getting 0 trophies during that is kind of crazy. During this dead time, we will say, however, a lot did happen within the story. For the first 2 hours, I spent my time inside of this gross green area of the world. I imagine the air probably smells like a homeless person's doo-doo diarrhea from eating roadkill, so just imagine that. But after escaping the stench world, we reached another, and it had some mind puzzles that kind of made me feel weird inside. The room is literally spinning, and I'm not just saying that because I'm low on iron. After that, however, we went to the Barney universe because it was purple and it had a lot of fighting, puzzles, and more mind-bending moments. Finally, though, we also went inside of a creature, and it was again disgusting. I can't even show half of the things in this creature in a video. I imagine that's how gross it was. But finally, we reached the girl we were after, and Doom Guy tried to pull her down from her trance, and the power thing she now has retaliated, putting us in shock. The prince then pulled up and explained that due to her sentinel blood, she has great power, more than we can handle. He also harvested some of it to power his relic thing, and then the chapter ends with an explosion of mass quantity. And then all hell begins to break loose, literally. Get it? Get it? Because the game is actually about hell? Okay, I'll leave now. Oh my god! But basically, the prince began his real rise of power, and Doom Guy got sent to confinement from the makers again because he is still being controlled by them due to this little yellow thing on his chest. But we still have to save the day, so he decides to just fucking rip it off, which he somehow managed to do despite the great pain it must have caused. However, that wasn't the smartest idea because it then dropped us right into a massive lake of acid, and Doom Guy died. Yeah, he actually died. But this would then begin my absolute most favorite arc of this game and the Doom series yet. Doom Guy may be dead, but his anger and thirst for demon blood lives on even in death. And I welcome you all to the Skeleton Doom Guy arc. Yup, we are dead, but bro literally refuses to die, and we are now on the quest to escape the underworld by just killing everything down here and crawling back to the living. And as I said, you do literally just kill everything in sight and crawl towards the exit of the damned, ending up in a cutscene showing us at this bridge with a bunch of other lost souls and killing this dude that asked for payment. I swear to god, if I have to pay taxes when I die, I'm gonna crash out exactly like bro did. That's insane. But then you take over the death ship once more, ending up with Doom Guy at the wheel and crashing it into this glowing wall to escape death, and a trophy popped finally called Too Angry to Die. I love this game. All the while we were doing that, a bunch of cool people were also doing a ritual to bring us back from the dead because the humans are now f***ed without us. And I guess it worked. I'm not sure if we needed that to happen because we were already on the redemption trail, but it's nice to know they remembered us in death so much that they gave us a little show to bring us back. But we are also now in the final chapters of the game, and they basically all just consist of us chasing down the Prince of Hell because it's about time somebody stopped him. We have done the whole scaredy cat approach of avoiding him throughout the game, and I think he is also bored of avoiding us, so that's the main goal. Before fighting him, however, I got a trophy from killing my last special enemy and getting all the health upgrades in the game from them right here. And I also did that with the armor upgrades as well for another trophy pop. The next trophy I would get was then from fighting the Creed Maker, who is this fat ass guy that has been controlling us and made us, I guess. However, he did go bad as we all know, and it's the reason we died. But the fight against him wasn't a simple one-stage fight because that would be a waste of potential. Instead, you begin fighting him in his ship, which is cool and all. But after kicking his ass quite literally out of the ship, you end up on a platform below, and this second stage of the fight went insanely hard. There was giant yellow walls all around us, and I honestly have no idea what the f is happening. I was just tunnel visioned in on his fat belly trying to make it explode like a water balloon. And as you do damage him in this fight, his fat literally begins to get shot off, fall off, Ozempic off. I don't even know what you call this. And maybe it's a good experimental method into weight loss. Just have Doom guys shoot you a bunch, and I'm sure you'll lose something. Maybe your life, maybe just excess fat. However, in the cutscene, he bargains for his life by saying he can take us to Thera, who is still missing, and we just shredded him in half. Masterclass performance right there. Anyways, we then reached the first of 2 fights against Prince Ozrock. After an entire stage of the fight, we didn't do anything besides give him a little boo-boo on his cheek. But I guess he had never bled before or something, so he was extremely upset by this, and then he just took off all of his clothes. An interesting fight method. It's crazy how he can do that, but if I were to, I'd get sent to jail and put on a list for the rest of my life. Double standards is all I'm gonna say. But this time with his clothes off, we were able to do much more damage and actually swept the floor with him. Ultimately, he ended up being defeated. We ripped the relic out of his chest, which ripped him of real power, and that girl named Thera we have been trying to save for half of this game also got sent free from her captivity. And then the prince fled back to hell and we got this trophy pop. So now it's time for the final chapter of the game. Everyone is going into hell to find the prince, diminish his forces, and just win the war for the time being. And the very last codex piece of text was in the very first room of this final chapter's hell area, which then popped the trophy from that called Lore Nerd. I love you, ID Software. But at this point, I also did have nearly enough of resources to purchase every single upgrade in the game, so I then did just that, baby. Finally, I can upgrade things. Oh my god, it's been so long using base weapons and powers all game. I almost went crazy low-key. But after upgrading everything, I ended up getting that bug trophy easily, and a total of 5 trophies in general, so here's all those popping. I also ended up finishing every challenge in the game on this chapter after doing his challenges because they were all I had left to do, so here's that trophy pop. I then found the last toy of the game for another trophy, and here's that as well. I also fought the final special enemy that gives demonic essence, and I upgraded my ammo completely for that trophy, and the trophy from all upgrades from those things right after. We then began the final boss battle against the prince, and his witch joined him this time. During the fight, almost right away as well, I also finished my first mastery challenge on a gun, which gave me a trophy. And as I said earlier, you have to do all of those, and they also only unlock after fully upgrading a gun, so it makes sense as to why we were finally able to do them here. But this fight was actually shockingly quick, and after I got that trophy, it was basically over. And the game ended off with us cornering the prince, taking his head, and then going back to the squad, throwing the head right in front of the demons, and they got the message that we are better than them and they are not going to win this one. One last cutscene then played. It showed Doom Guy and all of his swag, and that was the Doom the Dark Ages main story completed. Absolute banger, dude. I'm not even going to glaze. This game is so much fun. Also, here's that final story trophy. So now I only have 1 trophy left to get, and it's from the weapon mastery challenges. Now, I'm not going to dilly-dally to make this video longer and edge you guys at the ending, but to finish the mastery challenges for the guns, every single one can be checkpoint grinded out at the beginning of chapter 20 because there is a great combat encounter right at the start. So I just did that for a solid hour, and I ended up finishing every single one right here for that trophy to pop and the platinum trophy added on. So that was the Doom the Dark Ages platinum trophy experience. Overall, I think this game is near perfection. I had an absolute blast, and it's extremely addicting and a fun game to play. I highly recommend it, and there really isn't any complaints I have aside from a few chapters being kind of meh. Rating it out of 10, however, I will give Doom the Dark Ages a solid 9.64 out of 10. Near perfection, as I've said already. But that's all for today. More videos coming soon. Also, I did figure out that Forza trophy, so expect a Forza Horizon 5 Platinum on the way as well in the coming week. And I'll see you all then. But off the record, ID Software and Bethesda, send your boy a copy next time. I got top 30 first achievers without early access. I would really appreciate it, brother. Shout out Doom Guy.